here, Dr. Gene Landrum. I think it'll be a real treat as well. Hopefully everybody picked up a copy of the newsletter. If you're on email, you should have received an email copy from me as well. Next month, I think we've got also a very dynamic speaker. She's on the bottom of the front page. And so you'll see that Jenny Craig is a great speaker and very interesting, and you're going to enjoy that one as well. So if you can make it next month, the second Wednesday of every month, I think you'll really enjoy it. And there's some good information in the newsletter. We had our board meeting just before this meeting started, and we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to keep the panel. We're going to probably do it in either January or February. We got some speakers we're trying to squeeze in there. So we're going to try to get the panel in sometime in January or February. That's an opportunity for you to be able to ask questions, talk about your business, and to learn and get some expertise and help on solving some of those tough problems that you're getting in the business world today. So hopefully we get the panel up and going in January or February, and I think it'll be very interesting. We've had actually from the website, when we changed it to set up Dr. Gene Landrum, some people contacted us and said, hey, we want to do that. So we will. We have not done it, but we're going to do it. We're just going to push it back a little bit. So we're also going to change the format a little bit. In our meeting, we decided that you're getting tired of me standing up here and talking to you all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it around a little bit, where some of the board members and founders are also going to get up here and kick off the meetings so that you can get a different flavor of some of the real talent that we have on this board. We've got Marcus Zillman, who's our internet expert and technology expert. And so for him to stand up here, those of you who heard him speak, very interesting, very dynamic information. And then Helena, oh, there she is hiding way in the back. So she's doing a great job in the coaching. And so she's going to actually kick off our meeting in December. And she's going to start out with a little bit of flavor of what she does. And then she'll introduce Jenny Craig. So hopefully by getting the flavor of the different board members, you'll also get a different flavor of what it's like in different areas and expertise within entrepreneurship. This, for those of you who are new, how many are new here? Never been to a meeting? Wow, very good. Excellent. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. The purpose of this group is we are a support group for those of you who are either running a small business or trying to start a small business. We're also here to educate you and help you along. Myself, I've started 4 different companies. Dr. Gene Landrum has started several. Marcus is involved in several. And Helena is running her own business right now and coaching. We've all been through it. We've been over the hurdles. We've had the challenges that you're going to go through or are going through. And we can help you out with those. So hopefully, in the future, if you get some time, we like to do tables where after the meeting, we sit down at the tables and we have the technology, we have the legal, we've got the marketing, which I handle, and then the money end, which Dr. Landrum handles. Then you can ask those questions, and we can help give you some really good technical advice along the way. So anyway, we're here to help you, support you, and encourage you along. Not only that, but some of the great comments that I got from our survey is the people in the room, all of you, are so supportive and really a positive force for a lot of other business people in this room, and I want to thank you for that. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot of people who come that just feel really good about what they're doing because a lot of you are very positive and outgoing and also supportive of them as well. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now, without going any further, I want to bring up our wonderful speaker, Dr. Gene Landrum, who is the first and only Professor Emeritus here at Hodges University and also the godfather, father, and the starter of Chuck E. Cheese. So, Dr. Gene Landrum.
Thank you, Ted. Very good. And one of our great graduates here at Honorary MBA. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I got Chuck here. Want me to do a Chuck? Sit here, Chuck. I brought you the Chuck Goodie here. And, oh, you didn't mention it, Ted, but I brought, where's my other book? Here, I got a couple books here. I wrote a book called Entrepreneurial Genius. So, you know, I'm going to give it away to somebody. We forgot to ask, Ted, how we're going to select, does it have to be a young blonde or a brunette? And I wrote another book on innovative mind. So, any case, since Tom Monahan did such a nice job, I had a number of people ask me, why don't you tell them how you started Chuck? How'd you start that joint with a rat? Delivering a pizza. So I'm going to tell you some stories here. And a lot of you want to be self-employed or are. I'm going to show you some of the nuances, some of the things that you better watch out for, right? And I'd like to start the thing with, I'm going to, I finished my Innovative Mind book with accidental sagacity. It was literally an accident, a mental accident. But let me tell you a quick story. I had, I started the consumer division for National Semiconductor. I had a group of engineers doing, we had a great idea. The first home video game, cartridge-loaded video game. So I took that group of engineers to Atari, and I worked for the chairman, and it ended up becoming the very first game called the Atari 2600 video game system. I don't know if any of you ever remember that. It was the predecessor to the Nintendo, the predecessor to Xbox and the other stuff out today. In any case, I'm working for the chairman, the guy who invents video games. True story. He said, Gene, we got a year before this thing's going to be launched. I'm going to run this thing. And it became a multi-billion-dollar operation. And he said, well, we got a problem with co-op games. This is Atari. And he said, we need to get around this because we can't put them into more than 2 or 4 in any place in the United States. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. He said, we do a business plan. So for 4 months, I hung at Disney because I figured I had to do a Disney thing, right? I sat in the Bear Country Jamboree with a bunch of kids and grandparents and parents. And I'm trying to do that. And I worked on it, I did a lot of research, and I do a business plan. I submitted it to the board of directors, true story. I submitted it to the board of directors at Atari, some very sophisticated people on the board, including the Bushnell, who's the inventor of video games. And I said, you guys got to do this. Build a prototype. If it works, roll it. Bushnell looks at me and said, boy, Gene, I'm blown away. He said, tell you what, man, I'll give you $1 million. Go build a prototype. I'll make you prez. I looked at him, I said, Nolan, I wouldn't give me nothing to build this. I can't even spell restaurant. I can't, and my wife who's here will tell you, I said, because I was raised in a Catholic military academy, I didn't have parents, and guess what? She met me, in my 40s, I never turned on a stove. And I said, I wouldn't give you the money, what are you doing? He looked at me, he said, Gene, I am impressed, I trust you, go do it. That's how Chuck E. Cheese started. So, gave me the $1 million, I launched it, and I'm now going to tell you some of the nuances, some of the things you should be looking at and doing or not doing. And accidental sagacity is the secret. We run into things by working hard and thinking. And I'm telling you, I actually had this happen. And let me go through this here. The original objective, I don't know if you're aware of it. In 1937, a guy out of Chicago named Williams invented the first pinball machine. And the pinball machines became very popular. Now, this is in the Great Depression. And the pinballs were in what? Billiard halls, bars, honky-tonks. And they became very associated with gun malls, drugs, hoods, gangs. And I'm telling you this is an absolute truth. Every city in the United States has an ordinance that you cannot have more than 2 or 4, every city, 2 or 4 coin-operated things. One of them used to be a cigarette machines, right? Or a pinball machine, or whatever. So to circumvent those coin-op game laws, I was doing all kinds of research, using my daughter, going around and trying to find it. And my daughter, who is now in her 30s, and she has a new granddaughter for me, I used her for the research, and I took her around. Have you ever taken young kids on a Friday night to a white tablecloth restaurant? And you're saying, shut up, be quiet, sit there, right? And you're going to take grandma and grandfather to the Friday night to the Golden Arches for a birthday party? I don't think so. Grandma and grandpa was not going. And it occurred to me, when I was doing this research, there's a void in the marketplace. Where in the hell do you go on a Friday night with 3 generations of people that's an acceptable venue? There wasn't any. 0. None. So I gritted. I'm going to tell you what happens when you do this. I did that. And market void for family entertainment. And fantasy and make-believe can overcome your adversaries. I told you, back then, pretty self-evident now what a Chuck E. Cheese is. Back then it wasn't. There wasn't one. So I opened the first one in the city of San Jose. And I'm telling you, I go in there, so I had a young guy I knew dressed in this Chuck E. Cheese costume and walk up and kiss the hand of the mayor, hand lollipops out to the city council, and give them popsicles. There's me in my backyard now with Chuck. It's hard to demean a furry, rat, or a fantasy concept. You can't get upset with a rat, right? And it's furry, it's harmless. All right? What's wrong with this thing? Uh-oh. Oh, I'm aiming it the wrong way. Cities felt a place with 100 games would invite druggies, gangs, groupies. I already told you that. So I had to have a miniature Disney. Gangs and druggies are not hanging out in a place where the kids are and a furry rat delivering a pizza. They're not hanging there, right? We got to be careful of that when we open the place. Okay, here's one of the first places I built. Know the business you're in. Are you aware that most people don't? I'm telling people in this town, they do not know the business they're in. And I keep running into that over and over, okay? Where a kid could be a kid. I opened it May 17th, 1977, my very first store. Bushnell, who is the inventor of video games, 160 IQ, brilliant, good friends, and he had me do this thing. He said, Gene, open a game place with cheeseburgers and fries. I went to Tulane. I have an undergrad. My minor was in psych. You know, my doctoral work now is on Jungian psychology. I've always understood behavior. Do you know why ball teams go and have pizza? Are you aware of that? You're sharing it with the whole crowd. You're sharing the pictures of beer and the pictures of... It's a sharing, psychological sharing gig. My boss didn't get that. He was an EE, electrical engineer. Right? The engineers get that? No. Okay. Any engineers in here? They don't get it. Dr. Gene, no. I told him, we're in the family entertainment business with a sign, and I don't know if you're aware of it, I've always, even a mother with a 16-year-old is worried that the 16-year-old is going to contaminate the 6-year-old, right? They don't want them around. So I put a sign in the very first restaurant, no kids 16 and older without a parent. Bushnell hadn't even seen this thing, by the way. He gave me all the money, let me do it. I did it the way I wanted to do it. I designed it. I do the floor plans myself, nobody else. I refuse to hire an architect. I'm not hiring those dudes. They know too much, right? They know way too much. I did it myself. So I put the sign up. Bushnell comes back from Europe, and he looks at me, and he says, hey, first of all, he said, take it down, you idiot. I want kids hanging here. 2 weeks later, the guy's very bright. He walked in to my office. He said, Gene, you're a genius. Change the policy to no teens over 14. He finally got it. The whole idea was to have a place where families could go and feel safe and secure with kids. Okay? Here was the engineer who didn't get it. But he finally figured out the business we're really in. We were not in the games business. Wall Street never got that, by the way. Wall Street drove me crazy. How did a guy who couldn't boil water build a restaurant chain? Well, I'm telling you, you can't be too smart to know what you can't do. I did all kinds of stuff I shouldn't have done and no restaurateur would ever have done. I was too stupid, right? Sometimes it pays to be stupid. I'm telling you, I have all kinds of stuff on this. I built a 2-story cheese maze in this first store, second store, third store. Ball crawl, violated sacred dogmas, antipathetic to restaurant experts. No architects. I drew the first, people have told me that you can't do this, Gene. I drew the floor plans and pulled the building permits and built the things without an architect, without nobody. You know what training I had in that? Zip. 0. Because I talk about this all the time now. They know too much and they're going to do it the right way and the safe way. That was not the way I wanted to do a Chuck E. Cheese. I wanted it to be uniquely different. And by the way, I went to Round Table. I don't know if any of you, we got a California guy who remembers Round Table. I called the CEO, owner of Round Table, and said, I don't know anything about this business. Will you help me? And I went in and told him what I was going to do. And he listened to me, and you can look in somebody's eyes, and you know, if they get it, they're with you. He thought I was smoking those funny cigarettes. He thought I was really had lost it. You're going to put these talking animals in this pizza joint? You're going to have furry characters walking around this joint? And he finally said, look, Gene, I don't get what you're doing. I'm not sure you know what you're doing. 250 stores around the table. And he said, I tell you what, take my CFO there, go to the CFO. I go talk to the CFO. He tells me the food cost, labor cost, occupancy cost. He gave me every number I ever wanted. He really gave me, and if you're going to start a business, you better understand the numbers of that business, right? You better get it. You better understand it mathematically. Most people don't, I'm telling you. 80% of the world doesn't. They don't understand. But I learned a great deal from him. Oh, by the way, I'll tell you a quick story. I think it was 3 years later, he passed around the passed away. They had 250 stores. Boom! You know, he didn't get it. He thought I was nuts, right? If family and friends hate your ideas, by the way. You saw on the right up there. My mother, thought I was nuts. Everybody I talked to said I was crazy. If they think you're nuts, you're probably on a pretty good track. If they love what you do, watch out. And by the way, I'm not original on this. Are you aware that Walt Disney, that was right out of his stuff, his memoirs? Because everybody, his brother was going to have him committed because of having this stupid idea about Disneyland. His wife said Mickey Mouse is ridiculous. On and on. So if they hate it, you're on the right track. So go have a glass of wine. Say, Dr. G said I can do this. And go do it. Okay? You're on the right track, so go for it. Chicken Little. Never make it big. And I'm going to tell you, everybody, this is a true story. Harvard MBA, we were owned at the time by Warner Brothers, was a $6 billion company. And the head of it was a Harvard MBA. And I can say that I'm an MBA. And I teach MBA, so I can say this, so you MBAs don't get upset with me here. But I'm telling you, he walked into the store, he sits down, we have a beer, we're looking at it, he said, Gene, you bought this rat costume character for $5,000 for this store? He said, you are nuts. You can't do that. That isn't economically viable. That's the MBA shtick, right? He didn't get it. He and I were never friends. He didn't get it at all. As volume doubles, I taught economics for a long time now. I don't know if you're aware of this. No matter what you do when you're starting a business, as volume doubles, you can never make your decisions on your early time cost. And most people do that. And then they fail because they don't know what they've done. As volume doubles, and any sustained volume, cost drop by 30%. Think about it. You go down and get business cards down. If you get 500 and you say I want 1,000, you pay the same price? No, Charlie, you're not. Cost drop. But I'm telling you, most people say, well, here's the cost of doing this thing. And that's what a lot of accounting types, right? They say, oh, you can't do that. The costs are wrong. You're looking at the data in the wrong way. I didn't do this to do one store. I did it to do hundreds of stores. And a lot of people in the short-term mentality don't get that. They don't get it at all. By the seventh store, that costume, it cost $5,000. You know what it cost me? $5,000 to $300. But the people who made the decision earlier don't get there, right? Because they make the decision based on wrong data. They get lost in their own BS, right? Wrong. Not good. Okay, let me tell you about, this is an unbelievable story, and I'm going to tell you, if you ever start a business, go out and get involved in the business. I tended a bar, I wore that, have you ever worn a costume? I wore that stupid costume around. You know, people can't get in there and it's sweaty. It's really nasty. The kids pull your tail. They pick you. They jump on you. They don't think you're real. No, they don't. They don't think you're real. Okay? And so the kids didn't like to wear the costumes. And the enemy of the air in the early days. Oh, you know where the Montessori schools? My wife's going to kill me for saying this. Will refuse to ever hire a trained teacher. Why? Because they know too much. I hired a restaurant guy who had a master's degree in biology as my first manager. And I said, you run this joint, you fix up the kitchen, you make this stuff. I don't know how to make a damn pizza. I had him say, you do this. Well, guess what? I hit on the policy, right on the menu. Every 20 minutes, this costume character came out and brought a pizza to the kids, stood up, had their picture taken with the kids. And I always did a lot of research in those early days. And I always looking for what works and what doesn't. The first manager, he thought we were in the pizza business, and he was so wrong, because this Menlo Park guy, I don't know if you're familiar with California, I know Mike is. Menlo Park is 40 miles from San Jose, where I opened this first pizza store. 40 miles. And he had driven down with his daughter, and I was always walking around the store in those early days saying, hey, what do you think, man? I walked over to him, shook his hand. Hey, glad to see you again. What do you hear? Oh, my daughter, she's over in the game room. She loves it. She's having a ball. She's just walking around this place, and we love it. And I said, is there anything we could improve? And he looked at me, and he said, yeah, Gene, one thing. My daughter's a little, disappointed. So what? It says on your menu here, the Chuck character comes out every 20 minutes. And we've been here for an hour, almost an hour and a half. And Chuck's never been here. And my daughter wanted to shake his hand. And I wanted a picture taken with Chuck. And so I go back to the, continue to run the business. I go back, grab the manager, and say, hey man, the policy is to have a character. You want to get in that costume and go out there? And of course, he almost fainted and threw up on me, right? He ain't doing that. And the guy, this is a true story. Every one of you start a business, remember this. He looked at me, he said, Gene, 2 kids didn't show up tonight. Do you want to get the pizza out or that stupid costume? I don't have to tell you this. He wasn't there 6 weeks later. He said, you want that costume out or you want the pizza out? And I looked right at him. And I said, hey dude, this guy passed 60 pizza stores to drive down the peninsula in Northern California to get to our place. I said, he ain't here for your pizza. He could have got a lot of pizzas that are probably a hell of a lot better than yours, man. In a lot of places. And he ain't here for pizza. He's here for his daughter to enjoy. He didn't understand we're in the family entertainment business, not the stupid pizza business. He didn't get it. I'm telling you, most people don't get the business they're in. They really don't get it. You better clearly understand the business you're in. And I think I already told you, 2 months later, he wasn't there. He didn't get the business we're in, right? Not good. Let me tell you another story. I had a lady come up earlier, where she on the ball crawls. By the way, I had the first ball crawl in any, I think, food place in the United States or the world. I put this in, guess what, I'm not a food guy. Food guy, would he put a ball crawl in a small restaurant in 1977? I don't think so, Coach. In fact, I got to tell you this story. I had a manager call me one day. He said, Gene, you better get down here. There's 2 guys in dark suits and white shirts and ties that don't look like they're our customers. They're walking around here looking at this place. And so I go down and I meet them, and they're from Chicago, and 2 McDonald's vice presidents who were down there looking at what I had done with the ball crawls. And look at the McDonald's today, everybody. They copied what I had done and put them in front of every damn store in the United States. I was the first one that had the guts to do that in a pizza joint. But let me tell you what a normal restaurateur would do, and the lady brought it up to me earlier. True story, I got the ball crawls, the kids were sliding into it, they loved it, and the manager came to me one day. This was the other guy's successor, right? Another food guy, right? He walks in, and he said, Gene, get that stupid ball crawl out of this restaurant. What are you doing? He saw me as a high-tech marketer. I was a high-tech marketing guy. What do I know about food? I don't know nothing, right? They thought I was nuts. And you gotta be a little nuts. You get rich and famous, let me tell you. Not that I'm rich and famous. But I said the kids love it. And the small kids are peeing in their balls, he tells me. There's a lot of 2-year-olds in the balls, right? He said they're peeing in them, man. We got a restaurant. What the hell are you doing? I go out. The preschool kids are, mothers with preschool are there having a salad, glass of wine at lunch. The kids are out there playing. They're sitting there chatting. They loved it. So I called the guy back in and said, you know what? We get a big dishwashing gig in the back room that ain't being used from 11 o'clock at night until 11 the next morning. Wash the damn balls. Once a week, wash the balls, okay? I also told him, we're not here to... See, a lot of people that work for you. We ain't here to make your job easy, baby. We're here to optimize the results and the bottom line. We're not here to make... Most people want their job easy, right? You ever call the IRS? Or Social Security? Or whatever? You know, they hide behind this stupid voicemail, right? They drive me nuts. They think they're there to make their job easy. Not so, everybody. Never ever listen to a so-called expert. This is Dr. Gene says, never ever. Seriously, don't listen to experts. You know why? And I've said this in a lot of my books I write. They have such a psychological investment in what is, they can never see what it might be. They get so lost in the stuff, they don't get it. I'm telling you, that's what an expert does in any field of endeavor, whatever they are, okay? And the CEO of, this is a true story, Holiday Inn once, by the way, Bushnell and I were drinking beer one night, we said, we had 7 stores, we said, we don't know how to build a damn chain of restaurants. Why don't you call Holiday Inn? I called the CEO and chairman of Holiday, true story in Memphis, and said, hey, you guys got stores? You had 1,700 all over the country, great sites, a lot of room, a lot of space, they know how to do food. I can't spell food, right? And I tried to do a kind of deal with it. And we played racquetball together. I was a top racquetball player at the time, and he was a racquetball player. And he said, looked at me, he said, Gene, we spent lots of time and energy and money killing rats. You have one delivering food to customers. You can't do that, man. The CEO of Holiday Inn tells me. He said, what are you doing? You're nuts. You can't do it. And, of course, I told him, I said, well, I didn't know that, but we're doing 3 times the average pizza store in the United States at 23% pre-tax margin. We were doing 3 times what the average pizza joint did in the United States. 23% pre-tax. Just go look at the most, you know, what's McDonald's doing? 7%? We doing pretty good? But I tell you earlier, it's good to not know what you can't do. And you can do way better than what the people who know so much do. Okay? I was too stupid to know. Okay? So don't listen to them, seriously. Need $50 million in venture capital. We had rolled it to give me $2 million, we moved to stores, then we raised another couple million, then we needed real money. We're going to roll this thing, because what was it, 1980, 81? I opened 50 Pizza Time stores in 1 year. 1 a week. In, I think, 10 states. You know how tough that is to do? This is a huge venture operation. I had a lot of people working for me. I'm a little bit gung-ho. Bushnell said, I'm doing the business plan for it. This is a true story. Bushnell says, you're doing the business plan, and I submitted it to him, and I go over and say, here's what we're going to do. And by the way, people think I'm kind of wild and crazy. I'm way out there. I'm so right brain driven, and I have a high risk-taking propensity. I'm going in 4 weeks to go skiing, Black Diamond with my iPod on, and flying down the mountain. Am I a little bit out there? Yeah. But compared to the people, I was raised in the Catholic Military Academy, I can be out there, but I can't go beyond what's truthful, what's really right. And Bushnell, and I'm telling you, the people who get millions and millions and millions of bucks, Bushnell was one of those guys. You better did again. He looked at me, he said, put in the plan, Gene, that will pass Pizza Hut in 2 years. Well, this is a true story. Pizza Hut had 8,000 stores. 8,000. God, with all the money in the universe, can't do that. I looked at him and said, Nolan, you're crazy. You can't do that. He's the chairman, right? I'm the president. He wins the argument, right? I put in the plan that we're going to pass Pizza Hut. He said, and I said, are you nuts? I'm a regional planner. Gene, stop. This is a true quote from Bushnell. He gave a meeting. I mean, you know, I shouldn't be saying this probably. He said, Gene, stop permitting the truth to get in the way of the objective. People buy futures, not presents. And he was dead nuts right. I would never have done that. I would have never gotten the 50 million. We got the 50 million because we didn't tell the truth. The truth doesn't play in the big time world. I'm telling you. But a Catholic guy, you know, raised in a Catholic school, I couldn't go there. But I'm telling you, All these guys you see who get all these zillions of dollars, they are the ones who are willing to go and push the limits, big time. And truth can't be part of the puzzle. I'm telling you, it can't be part of the puzzle. We got the 50 million because sometimes we know too much, right? We know too much and we've been too trained to do what's right. And I fit that category even though I'm pretty wild and crazy compared to most. Located first stores in affluent markets. I said, that's what we're going to do. And I've always been very good at understanding behavior in markets. So I said, it's pretty logical, right? Put all the stores where people make more money. And they'll spend more money, right? Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And I look at the numbers. We're doing $42 per registered ticket average in a pizza store in 1977, 78. I was blown away. Wall Street couldn't get, that was blowing away everybody. And I said, you're really smart, Gene. No, Gene, you ain't too smart, baby. You know? Because I thought I was really smart. It wasn't true. I then met Mike Ilitch. I sold him the rights to the state of Michigan. He owns Little Caesars. You probably know he also owns the Detroit Tigers now, the Detroit Red Wings. And I sold him the rights to all the state of Michigan. And he had a bunch of stores he wanted to convert. He did them right away in very blue-collar, non-affluent, truck driving, production line places. The exact opposite of where I get located in all my stores. He went where I didn't go. And then I happened to open one in Fremont. Anybody, you know where Fremont, California is? It's a blue-collar truck driving place, right? I had never done that. Because I was so smart, I said, no, they're not affluent. Guess what? Oh, Detroit and Fremont proved the truth. Frequency of visits tripled. Why? If you go into affluent markets, think about that. You're in that kind of business, they can take their kids skiing, take their kids to Hawaii, take their kids on a cruise. They can take their kids to a lot of places. The truck driver ain't taking their kids, right? The truck drivers were coming in and drinking beer and playing games with their kids every week, every other week. We were tripling, and I am a market research nut. I was analyzing how often people came, how much they spent, how far they drove. I knew that stuff cold. And what happened was the frequency of visits went up dramatically. They tripled. So sometimes you can't know too much, okay? Visionaries do not sit in the office and delegate. A General Motors manager told me, Gene, you know more about this business than anyone I've ever met. I had a guy who owned, I think, 8 pizza stores. And he came to me one day and said, Gene, and I looked at him and I said, I can't even make a pizza. He's telling me this guy was an expert in pizza. And he looks at me and he said, Gene, you really know this business. Well, what did he say to a guy who can't make a pizza? Well, I can't make a pizza. The reason he said that, I knew how to get inside the numbers. I knew cold exactly what you could do and couldn't do. One of the things that I knew is the break-even number of people and bucks. I knew for every store when it opened how many people to walk in, how much they had to spend, or I can't open. I knew that cold. What was really important here, this is not working. There it goes. Hospitality is a weekly, not a monthly business. See, I grew up in the world, just close the books monthly, right? You guys been in accounting? Know that, right? Close your books every month, right? If you're in the restaurant, bar, cash business, hospitality business, you better not. A whole bunch of whole hams could have gone out the back door, baby, in any given week. And you better know what's going on every single week. And I knew enough that every Monday morning, every store in the United States had to send me, if their food cost, food and beverage, or labor costs varied by 0.5% of what the targeted budgeted numbers were, they had to send me a memo and tell me why. It only happened once. It would never happen again, right? Because I forced them every week. Because you wait for a month, you could have just gotten stolen blind. Have you ever run a cash business? I mean, hire nothing but Jesuit minister dropouts. And maybe they won't steal. Maybe. Everybody steals. You heard Tom Monahan last month, right? Everybody steals. I once did a grant at Chuck E. Cheese. I opened 6 single bars over the United States. I asked a good friend of mine. I said, tell me about this skimming thing. He said, Gene, everybody skims. Everybody, they take 10, 15%. I walk in, throw my arm around, I'm doing a good job, guy, just keep doing it. The minute it hits 20%, I walk in and say, you're gone. Everybody steals. Tom Money got invented it, right? He said the last, he said, oh, they told me I had to scam. I had to steal money, even for myself. Ruined it right away, right? Here, this guy goes to pants 7 days a week. 7 days a week, he's skimming from his own company, right? So it's a weekly, not a monthly business. I researched who came, why, and how far. I did inveterate research. I knew everything why anybody came, what they liked, what they didn't like. I knew it cold. And you better know that. And I'm telling you, so few people know that. They really don't know that about their business. And you can't run a business that way. And we logged the dollars and people. This is one of the most brilliant things I ever did. I had stores all over the United States, and every store, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, had to log the cash register and put down how many people, how many transactions, how many dollars at 2, 4, and 6. So we knew on a Sunday in December what we expected to do now at 2 o'clock and at 4 o'clock. And this is probably one of the most brilliant things I ever did. And I did this, I gotta tell you, in 1979. I pulled with a mainframe computer, I pulled every register in the United States of every store. I knew the numbers cold. Cold. We did it daily, and it was a Friday night. Every manager was trained, pull the register at 4 o'clock. You're down by 15%. I don't know if you were. We did 1,000 pizzas on a Friday night. We had 25 part-time high schoolers coming into work. If you're down by 15%, you call 15% of the 25 and say, stay home. We don't need you. If you're up by 15%, you call and get more, right? We knew every day of the year. When you do that for 2 years in your company, do you know what you're doing? You know it cold by the numbers. You know it cold. See, a lot of people didn't understand the pizza business thing. They said, oh, if it's really raining in inclement weather, that's bad for business. You're probably going to slow down. Some of you out there probably know this, right? You think that's true? That is so stupid. We're in the family entertainment business. Who are we competing with? The park, the zoo, the beach. If it's nice weather, they're out there, not in our joint. When it rained, they can't go to the beach or the zoo. They're in our place. We pack the joint. We pack it every single time. Okay, the end. So I'm finished this, and I like to tell people this: life's too short to drink cheap wine. I really believe that. It is. So say, Dr. Gene, when you go home tonight, I can have good wine. Or waste time with know-it-all maidens. Because we listen to people who think they know what they're talking about. And even if it's your family, you saw in the newsletter here. I think I told you this story, you saw in the newsletter. I bring my mother, who lived in Fort Myers, my first store, and I have her sitting there. And I had Chuck. I went to Chuck. My mother was from Kentucky. She liked beer. I said, bring my mother a beer. I get this rat character, bring my mom a beer. And my mother was from the old school. You grow up, you go to school, you get a good job, and someday somebody gives you a watch. Right? That was my mother's approach to life. She didn't get it. At all. And I have Chuck bring my mother a beer, and then I have her stand up, and I said, will you dance with Chuck? And Chuck is dancing with my mother around there. The pots and pans are going off, and all this stuff's going on, the characters are going off. And I have her get another beer. And this is a true story, everybody. We're there for about 45 minutes. I turned to my mother and I said, Mom, what do you think of my creation? What do you think of Chuck? And she thought for a minute and she turned to me and she said, honey, when are you going to get a real job? Mom, I'm changing the world of family entertainment. She didn't get it. She didn't get me at all. She thought it was nuts. So if your family thinks you're nuts, Dr. Jean says it's okay. You can do that, okay? It is okay. So, and I'm only throwing this up, we're not allowed to sell anything in this place, but I'm telling you, since you're here, you're in Nissan. And we didn't say, Ted, I've got two books to give away to somebody. We're gonna figure out how we're gonna give them away. But if you're in Nissan, go to myGlandrum.com, and I've written my last 3 books, Cover Your Assets, Innovative Mind, Superman, and if you buy all 3, I'll give you CDs that go with them. It's $100 and something. Very candidly, it cost me $50. I'm giving it to you for $50. So if you want to go in and do that, feel free. But in any case, I'd like to just kind of open it up for a. Do you have any questions on how I did this chain? It's going about $1 billion a year now. There's 500 some stores. Yes, ma'am.
My question was, throughout this whole process, did you ever learn to make a pizza?
No, I didn't. I've never. I didn't think I could hire. You know, if you're running a joint, can you hire people that know how to do that? Yeah, I knew how to. I did go collect the games. I did wear the costume. I did do all the other stuff, but I never did because I've never been into doing the food gig. And just so you know, my wife's here. It's a lovely lady, and she in our prenup it says she told me I put numbers in there. I'm a numbers guy, and she said I don't do floors, I don't do windows, and I don't do kitchens. She made me sign it. So you like that, right? She made me do that. Yes.
Good question. Do you eat pizza and where do you get it?
Yeah, we eat it all the time, and we do. I don't know where you get it. I don't get it. She gets it, but we do that. That Chicago place there on Pine Ridge in the airport, yeah, I forget the name of that place. So.
And how did the name Chuck E. Cheese?
Oh, good question. This is a true story, everybody. When you do this stuff, lawyers, Brian, get in the process, right? I had done the complete planning, did everything, and we're about to open like in 3 or 4 weeks. And I had come up with the name, the Big Cheese. And I was going to have a big cheese with almost a Superman kind of character, right? With a big, C on his chest. I was going to have this big cheese thing. And that was my gig, and that's what we're going to do. And they did the search for the name, the lawyers, right? Which I hadn't done, because I told you I'm against using architects and sometimes lawyers or whatever. They tell me what I can't do. I never like that. Don't be telling me what I can't do. I'm going to go do it anyway. And of course the lawyer said, no, you cannot use, the Marriott Corporation has registered the name, the Big Cheese, for the food business. They've never opened one, but they own it. You better go somewhere else. And to answer your question, Skip, this is a true story. You know how the great things happen in the world? By the way, they've done a lot of research studies now. Chuck E. Cheese is a stronger name than McDonald's character, than the other characters in the country. It's a very strong character. We were sitting with Bushnell, the guy who invented video games, myself, another guy. We were sitting in his office one night drinking beer. After the 3rd beer, we're getting a little bit goofy. And we said, what are we going to name this thing? And some of you were old enough. Remember the Mickey Mouse Club? M-I-C-K-E-Y, the Mickey Mouse Club? It was big on television. It was big everywhere. And we're sitting there getting goofy, drinking beer, right? And we said, and we really thought we were going to compete with Disney. We thought if we built enough of these, Disney had the bucks, they were going to go out and be our major competitor. And that's why, I don't know if you were the Chuck, is a hybrid rat mouse. They couldn't do the mouse. They had the mouse, right? And we were sitting there and we said, that mouse down south is going to be our enemy. But it's Mickey Mouse. Think about it. Chuck E. Cheese. Now, it took another couple of beers to get there. But that's the true story of how Chuck E. Cheese started. We said, oh, Chuck E. Cheese. We're the cheese. And just so you know, when you go international, you got a problem. We opened our first store in, I think, 81 in Sydney, Australia. We both speak English, don't we? No, not the same English. Do you know what the name Chuck means in Australia? To throw up. To up Chuck. It's to throw up. So if you ever go to Sydney, it's called Charles Fromage. No, really, it's called Charles Fromage. And so sometimes you got to do that gig, right? you got to go there, and that's a true story. That's a very good question. Yes, ma'am.
From the beginning of this whole process, did you ever get discouraged?
The what?
Did you ever get discouraged from the whole beginning of this whole?
Oh, I had two PDP-11s in the back room, computer systems that are driving these animal characters. In the early days, they had nobody to call with me. I was in charge of everything. I did everything. And, they call me saying that the PDP-11's got a problem. We had a backup, but so you really get, when you're going down at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night to try to get the animals to work or whatever, and you saw all the stuff I had with the people, but you can probably tell from my demeanor here, I'm kind of a positive dude, almost to a fault. My wife tells me all the time I still believe in the Easter Bunny. I happen to be a very, very positive, optimistic thing, and because of that, you got to keep believing. The minute you're going to hope a lot of people tell you you're nuts, including your parents, your partners, everyone. So, and even my boss told me the thing that was totally wrong, and I had the guts. I never listened to him. Right? I refused to listen to him for 2 weeks. I could have gotten fired because the boss isn't always right because he's always the boss, right? Or she. So you got to always remember that. But yeah, do you get discouraged? Yeah. But I drink good red wine. And you stop doing that? Anything else? Yes.
I know how you collect information because you'll go and talk to all of the other stores to collect the information on your consumers so that you know how far they travel.
Well, the first 50 stores, I hired the guy who was doing, I don't know if you're familiar with the company Safeway in California. It's like Publix is here, they get stores everywhere. I hired their market research guy to do a research study on every single store we had. What's working, what's not working, what do you like, what do you hate, whatever. I knew it cold. But very candidly, I think I mentioned it earlier, I came up out of the computer business. I was always a computer dude. And I had every store in the United States being polled by a mainframe computer and having all that data accumulated and combined in California and put on my desk. So I knew what they were doing every single week. I had the data pulled. Every single Monday morning, I knew what every store was doing compared to last week, compared to what they were budgeted to do. I knew what their food cost was, their labor cost, all the pertinent costs that were controllable. And by the way, every store manager was, he only made, I think it was 35 grand a year, but the average one was making 100. Give them a piece of the action. Give them a piece of the pie. To control what is variable, the controllable cost. And guess what? If you do that, now the guys and kids are stealing from them, right? And he's right there. You're not there, or she's right there. So delegate the thing, make them the chief honcho, and make their compensation. And by the way, we brought a guy in from Wendy's, the vice president, because some Wall Street guy said, what does this guy Landrum know about this stuff? We got to bring a guy in from Wendy's. They made us hire this guy from Wendy's, which was the most ridiculous thing in the universe. Because he comes in from the old school, right? You don't got to pay these managers, they're making 100 grand a year. And he said, we can get them for 40, 50. He raised my 35, I think, to 48 or 50. We lost 65% of them within 4 months. What an idiot. So don't hire people who get lost in the stuff, right? That's what I've been trying to tell you tonight. Have the guts to know where you are and what you do well, and motivate the people and make the people directly under you have the same incentive that you got, that they're getting a piece of the action. And I always was very good at that. And I was always on, the first 15 years of my life with a bunch of kids, I was on straight commission. And, Cynthia knows, I never made any money, except what I got, but then I got pretty well. I tell my students this, Leanne, when I was 23 years old, I made more money. When I was 23, it was a few years ago, right? Is that a long time ago? I made more money at 23 than I today have made as a full-time professor with a PhD. Is that a say commentary on education? I was a successful computer sales guy, and I had done very well. But now it's a say commentary on our educational process. So, anyway, one last question. Yes?
Do you still own the business, or have you sold?
Oh, no, and I haven't been involved since '84. No, I've been a professor here, and I have been totally out of that.
What motivated you to become a professor?
Well, it's a strange story. I was here, and I wanted to write a book of what I learned in Silicon Valley. See, everything they told me in grade school, when I was getting my MBA, I didn't mention this. I'm getting my MBA, and you know what they told me? And they tell MBAs this, and they probably, some people still telling you this, right, Dan? How do you run a business? By the numbers. I already told you I'm really good with numbers. They said, just do it by the numbers. Budgets are Bibles, right? Have you ever heard, has anybody ever told you guys you can't do it, it's not in the budget? Have you ever heard that? I'm going to throw up all over. That is the stupidest statement in the history of the universe. What if you triple your sales or double your profits? That's crazy. Even though I'm a numbers guy. That is totally stupid. They told me, I got out of grad school, I moved to Silicon Valley, and I was very fortunate. I got a big job out there, and they told me, just do it by the numbers. And I thought I had been a math major, and I said, I love numbers. I thought they were right. I had lunch with Bill Hewlett, started Hewlett Packard. I knew Bob Noyes, who started Intel. Steve Jobs worked for us. I knew Steve Jobs, who now runs Apple. I worked for the guy who invented video games. I knew all these guys. Do you know in Silicon Valley how many people that thinks the budget makes any sense? Try it now. Zero. Zero, including Jack Welch, who ran General Electric. They have to do it. They got to keep the little people in line to some degree. But if you ask them, can we violate this budget? They'll say, to hell with the budget, do it. But if you ever worked for somebody, like that, gotta be a little careful. Who says you can't do it? I'm telling you, run. Run as fast as you can run. You're working for an idiot. I'm telling you, that's from Dr. G. Blame me. Okay, so you don't get fired. So Dr. G says you can't do that. So, very candidly, you gotta be very careful. Because people want everything in a very structured. Are you aware that 88% of the world are left brain dominant? Are you familiar with the brain stuff? I happen to be off of the scale. I am off of the scale. I am out there. But I'm telling you, 88% of the world are the ones who are saying you can't do it, it's not in the budget. It's concrete sequential psychological. There are books about it. They call it concrete sequential. Do, 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 do. But the people who change the world are not like that. Bill Gates is not like that. Einstein is not like that. Donald Trump is not like that. Walt Disney's not like that. Tom Monahan's not like that. And I don't know if you're aware of it. I've written books about this. We all have the identical same Jungian personality type. They call us Prometheus. I'm a Prometheus. I see the big picture, and I deal with what I see very rationally. The rest of the world can't do that. They get lost in the stuff. Don't ever get lost in the stuff. I think I've overlapped my time here. Yes, sir.
Is the name Chuck E. Cheese a registered trademark?
Yes. Yes, it is.
What if I open a pizza parlor here in Naples and call it Lucky Cheese? How would you react?
Oh no, I wouldn't react. I'd say go for it, man. Lucky cheese or the lucky big cheese or anything you want. Just go for it, yeah. And go do it. Let me know you want to do that. And I think Will's going to try to do something very similar to the stuff that I did. You going to talk to us tonight a little bit? Tell us what you're trying to do? Okay, thank you very much.
Or rip off a little sheet of paper, we'll put it in the pot. And we've got a show and tell, and then after the show and tell, we'll be drawing for two of Dr. Gene's books.
My Innovative Mind book and my Entrepreneur Genius book. And I know Tom Monahan gave everybody a book, but he's got a big B after his name. I ain't got that B. Oh, billion. Well, I can't do that. Here you go back. Hey, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much, guys.